I'm going to do a quick rundown and summarize a lot of the most important information from 7.14. Now, there's been a load of item changes, and I would highly recommend that you check what items you need to build into the item, because I've already even seen people trying to build the old version of MKB. Now, one of the biggest changes with these items is Maelstrom, and obviously going into Mjolnir. So Maelstrom now uses Javelin and Mithril Hammer to build it. It doesn't give you attack speed anymore because the Glove of Haste isn't in the recipe anymore. But in turn, what's happened is the proc damage has changed from 120 to 170, which is about a 40% increase, which is pretty big in my opinion. And it's going to heavily benefit heroes who have really high attack speed or very high agility, maybe Drow Ranger, but one of the most definite ones is Wind Ranger. Now also the procs have been changes, so they now do pierce damage and you have a 25% chance of piercing evasion, which is really big. So this means you have another item that is now countering evasion that is pretty cheap, relatively cheap, especially for certain heroes. The items like Halberd and Solar Crest were really cheap evasion items that people would pick up quite often. But now you have another item that can evade. However, the thing is that the old Javelin, they don't pierce evasion anymore. So you have to build a full Monkey King bar to pierce evasion now. So it's kind of like a changes to evasion as a whole. But one of the most important things about the changes to Maelstrom and Mjolnir is that the Battle Fury changes that take turn on it as well. So the Battle Fury requires 300 gold more, meaning that heroes like Juggernaut, Void, Anti-Mage who want to flash farm, and this is like the flash farming item for a melee hero. Maelstrom would be that for a ranged hero. So it means that we might see a little bit more of ranged cores, like say Drow Ranger, definitely Wind Ranger, just because of the fact that Maelstrom was already a great item for her, and that now that they even buffed it, and it seems to be buffed directly for Wind Ranger and not many other heroes. Now Monkey King bar got changed very significantly as well. The recipe for it is Demon Edge, Quarterstaff and Javelin. Yes, it's really weird. But the thing is now it gives you 52 damage and 10 attack speed. Now this is making it more similar to the old version of MKB before 7.0, meaning that you kind of choose between Daedalus and MKB a little bit more now in comparison to what you used to. The procs have also been changed from pure damage to magical. The damage is still around the same, but it means that the procs, which was 75%, or still is 75%, can be blocked by magic resist and also stuff like BKB. So MKB is doing slightly less damage when you have magic resist. This is kind of an important thing that sometimes to take into consideration, that you can block some of that damage from MKB. Mobility is a really important thing in Dota, and Blink Dagger and Force Staff are the two ways that most people rely on getting mobility in Dota. Now the thing is, both of these have been nerfed slightly. Blink Dagger has gone from a 14-second cooldown to a 15-second cooldown. It used to be 12 seconds a few months ago. Now the thing is that this might not seem like much, it's only a few seconds, but you really do feel it. It slows down your farm, your ability to move around the map. You have to just be more important of how you use your Blink Dagger throughout the game, because it could just be off cooldown when you really need it. The main nerf to Force Staff has changed its mana cost from 25 to 100. This won't really hurt intelligence heroes, but will very heavily hurt the heroes which have very small mana pools, like say Slardar or Centaur, because what's happening is that they don't like to build these items that give them extra a mana pool, and the thing is, Force Staff will end up using up so much of their mana they will really struggle, and they might not even have a mana regen item. So it ends up making say, maybe we'll have to start building arcane boots on these heroes just to be able to use Force Staff. Magic Wand is one of these early game items that has also got pretty decent changes when you look at it in a little bit more depth. So it requires a 150 gold recipe instead of a mango, which means that it's slightly more expensive, but the max charges have been changed from 17 to 20, which means that there's more of a reason to upgrade it. It has more value slightly later in the game when teamfights go on a little bit longer and longer, you save up more and more charges. It just has that slightly extra effect and make it so it's a more valuable item for an extra 3 or 5 minutes before you sell it. However, the thing is between say the bracket of 3 to 10 minutes, when you're playing against say a Skyrat Mage mid or a Zeus mid, it means that you're going to build up a huge amount of charges and you will, like, a lot of the time I see people sitting in mid lane with 17 charges because they're playing against these heroes that are spamming out abilities. Now that's going to be 20. It's going to be a little bit easier to kill these heroes and turn on them when they go aggressive on you, because you have these extra 3 max charges. Now going on to hero changes. So there's been an enormous amount of minor changes to heroes, but there's just too many to cover, and the purpose of this video is to summarize this information down and highlight the most important parts. Now, first going on to Bloodseeker. So his Blood Rage has a shorter cooldown on the earlier levels, which means that he'll probably be a bit better at laning and maybe even a little bit better at jungling. Now, the other thing is going into his Blood Ride, which is his AoE spell. The ground vision that gives is now matching the AoE of it. It used to only give like a small amount of vision in the middle, which was 400 units, now it's 600, meaning that it'll be a little bit better to use it on Roche Pit to get vision. Just a lot of these small things, just getting vision up ahead before you like go to an area, you can see what's happening up there. Overall, this is a pretty good buff to Bloodseeker both in safe lane and off lane, because you can also see heroes who are hiding in the trees or trying to wrap around when like through the tree line in the lane. The other thing now we're going to is Broodmother. Her spider lanes have been changed quite significantly, so they give a lot less golden experience, but they're also a lot weaker both in damage and armor. So now it seems that there's more of a focus on Broodmother as the hero rather than her summons. Now going on to Mirana, which has some really interesting changes here, and overall it's pretty significant buffs. If you like playing this hero, you'll be happy that the hero might actually be back in the meta again. So if we look at Leap first. So Leap's buff duration has changed from 2 seconds to 2.5, which doesn't seem like much, only 0.5 seconds, it's like half second. This sounds like nothing, but the attack speed has all like been buffed on the first 3 levels of the spell. Mainly on the first level of Leap, it went from 25 attack speed to 40 attack speed, which makes it so that like 1 value point in Leap is really good, even like early on. The thing is, when we look at Mirana's skill build, a lot of the time you're maxing your first 2 spells rather than Leap and leaving 1 point in Leap. You have 3 Leap charges, which is pretty big as well, but the thing is that with Maelstrom like added with this, you have like, as talking earlier, that Maelstrom doesn't give you the bonus attack speed anymore, but if you build Maelstrom on Mirana, it's like buff it, like, overall like I see massive buffs to physical damage Mirana. One of the other reasons why this is so important is because Blink Dagger and Force Staff got nerfed, so overall mobility is a little bit worse off for everyone else, and heroes who have mobility directly built into their skill set like Mirana, Queen of Pain, Wind Ranger's Windrun, you have a massive benefit over other heroes because of this. Also, Mirana's Moonlight Shadow, when you're invisible, will grant 15% movement speed, which is really good later in the game when you have that 25 talent, like level 25 talent, which is 80-second cooldown reduction on Moonlight Shadow, which means that like everyone's invisible, everyone's moving 15% faster. Overall, I see this hero as like just so much better, especially on the physical damage side. Necrophosis Reaper's Sight got buffed, so now the respawn time penalty is longer at every level. This means that buyback is a little bit more useful, or maybe it's just to buff the hero because buyback got buffed a patch or 2 ago. Omni Knight got some minor nerfs again, and it's like keeps happening nearly every single patch. It's like Valve want us to stop playing this hero. If we look at Queen of Pain, she's like bad win rate overall. She's kind of a high skill hero, but one of the places where she really suffered was her Sonic Wave on level 1. Now the thing is, Sonic Wave on every level has been buffed, and even Sonic Wave with Aghanim Scepter has been buffed as well, so there's more damage overall. Riki's Tricks of the Trade, his ultimate, is slightly weaker now. It's still like pretty strong, but it's slower attack speed or whatever, right? It's a little bit weaker. I don't think the Riki Plague is going to go away this patch, but what we might start seeing is a little bit more of Spectre. Her Spectral Dagger, which is her first spell, costs less mana on the earlier levels, so it means that she's a little bit better at laning, but her Haunt also does more damage later in the game, her illusions do. However, the thing is that this hero gets shut down really heavily in higher level MMR matches. The matches end too quickly, you lose all your towers before even you get a Radiance. The thing is that in lower MMR matches, you will probably see this hero a lot more. So Tusk got 3 minor nerfs, but I'm going to highlight the most important one, which is actually a really like kind of big nerf as well to his early game, which his duration of his shards used to last for 7 seconds. Now on level 1 it only lasts for 4 seconds, which is pretty big because you used to be able to get a lot of first bloods by blocking people off near the bounty runes with those shards. Now the shards don't last as long. It means that this like first blood, getting the lead early on, this hero requires the like snowball in order to like do a lot in the game, and nerfing this like shards duration is pretty big in my opinion. Undying got a number of buffs, which is really good if you're an Undying player, but what I really want to highlight is that this one change is that on his level 15 talent is increased from a plus 30 second decay duration to a plus 50, which is really important because it means that slower sieges are way stronger with this hero, and that if you hesitate or leave him too long just building up decay stats, he's going to keep them for so long and have so much strength, it's going to be very hard to kill him. He's going to kind of be like, you know how you play those games and bristleback, you can't like really kill him. Undying is going to be kind of like that. If your team is slow sieging, if the enemy are hesitating too much to go in and fight, especially with the fact that Blink Dagger cooldown is slightly longer now again, and we're going to see it harder and harder to play against Undying just because of like a lot of these small changes. And I would highly recommend picking this hero. I think that there's some strategies you could build around him with early pushing, and it can punish enemies really hard. Now we're looking at the last hero, which again got like a really big buff. I mentioned her earlier, which is Wind Ranger. Her focus fire attack speed went from 350 to 400. I was talking earlier about how Maelstrom doesn't have attack speed anymore, and focus fire gives even more attack speed than it used to. So like that's really good, and it means like overall I see this buff Wind Ranger patch. You could call that 7.14 Wind Ranger patch. And this also other thing is that Power Shot now also does more damage on like the level 2, 3 and 4, which again, if you like playing this hero, I think this is the patch that you want to play her. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do you think I should do more of these patch analysis videos? Like, please tell me down in the comments. And if you like this type of content, like, make sure you subscribe.